Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hereby call the Survey Committee meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. Thank you. We'll go over a few house rules here, rules of speaking. Anyone wishing to speak is asked to raise his or her hand, and when recognized by the chair, to address comments to the chair. Speakers are to keep their comments under 2 minutes. Public testimony is taken at the beginning of each agenda item. Please silence all electronic devices. No commission may take up action on any agenda item as required by the Sunshine Law, HRS 92. Specific issues not noted on the agenda cannot be voted on unless properly addressed, added to the agenda. Okay, public concerns. We have, anyone have public concerns?
Oh, yes. Mr. Armstrong?
Mr. Armstrong, go ahead.
Aloha. I just wanted to inform the commission and those who are watching that there will be a second meeting of those who are interested in reforms for the neighborhood board system on the last Saturday of this month at 10:30 at the Anglican Cathedral downtown. So all are welcomed. You may come and participate and help make democratic democracy, help make democracy more democratic. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that. Yes.
Did he say forms or reforms?
Can you
I'm
restate
sorry.
Go ahead and restate that, please.
Mr. Armstrong, did you say
Yes.
Forms or reforms?
Reform.
Okay, thank
Reform.
you.
We've been working on it for the past 2 years.
Okay, thank you.
Great,
Mahalo.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay, any other public concerns?
I see Claire's hand raised.
Steve, I have a question for Mr. Armstrong. Do you have an agenda that's going to be posted, and do you have minutes of your meetings?
No, it is a community organization. It is not a governmental unit.
But for the record, wouldn't it be also nice to have a record of what's being discussed? And
If the folks who are in attendance want minutes to be tabulated, then we will do that. It is completely, up to the group. The agenda has been set. There's basically 10 action items that we're going to talk about. Please don't ask me what they are because in front of me I don't have that. But things like boundaries, things like disputes, in the commission and things like that. And so that's the agenda per se. And those who participated in the first one have certainly been informed of that. And that's why I came here today, because it seems like the most logical forum to let everyone know if they would like to attend.
I would appreciate seeing what topics that you folks are going to be talking about. Okay, thank you.
Be happy to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other public concerns?
No.
No, hearing none. Okay.
He's
Great.
got something to say.
Okay, we're going to move to approval of the committee minutes, meeting minutes. I'm referring to the one on February 20. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the meeting minutes yet?
Yes.
Is there any questions, concerns, additions, or deletions?
No.
Okay, hearing none, the minutes are accepted as is. Thank you, gentlemen, for that. Okay. Next item, we're going to move to the board business. The Neighborhood Commission Office Survey. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to go through what's been compiled and published, the survey data for transfer to the Neighborhood Planning Committee for neighborhood plan consideration. Now I'm going to go to the, Mel, do you want to share, do you publish it or do you want to share the screen? Do you want to see it?
Yeah, give me one. You can keep talking and then I'll try to pull them up. I put them on the Google Drive for you guys.
Great. Okay. What we've done is that we've actually come to we went through from the survey viewpoint, we surveyed, we created a survey from internally. And then some time ago, we had a request to provide, I call it a call for questions to all the board members in the neighborhood board system, going through the chairs and the officers of the board. And we did that. It was a call for questions, and we had a very, very good response. Based upon that, we had quite a bit of information come back to us. But we boiled, what the survey committee did, we boiled that into 4 or 5, actually 5 distinct categories. And those items we're going to pass them on to the planning committee for consideration of inclusion into the updates that they're doing to the planning, the current planning document, the plan document. As soon as Dylan picks this up, we'll share screen.
Alright.
Make it look
Is
very
that big? Shows full on my side. Let's see. I think, yeah, that's sorry, this is.
Okay, great. We're going to go. Can you all see that? Mr. Armstrong, can you see that? Yeah, we can see it now.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. I'm going to go from the top. This is a Neighborhood Commission, Neighborhood Plan Committee. We are addressing this from our survey committee to Patrick Smith, the chairperson for the Neighborhood Planning Committee. What this is a survey committee regular meeting. We're presenting it today. The subject is the results of the Neighborhood Commission survey to neighborhood board members. And as I mentioned earlier, we put a call for questions, which came back to questions and statements. Quite a few of them that came back in. And we boiled that down to about 5 categories, which is on page 2. Let's continue with the purpose of this memo. Provide feedback from the commission survey directly to the neighborhood planning committee to consider making appropriate changes in the neighborhood plan per the requirements addressed by the neighborhood board chairs and board members by the survey committee. Then just mentions who we are with Commissioner Larry, Melanie, Claire, and Rochelle Sherrill. The neighborhood commission, 3rd paragraph down, the neighborhood commission directed the survey committee to conduct a survey of all neighborhood board members as a result, and then as a result of that, we received a number of concerns received by the commission, and due to the issues, and also due to the issues addressed at previous conference of chairs, we compiled the information that's attached in page 2. The survey committee made a call for questions to the neighborhood board chairpersons for areas of the board members would like to have the survey committee place in the survey. So we're doing that now. 4th paragraph. The call for questions resulted in the survey committee receiving many responses on August 24 for the survey committee's consideration for placing on the survey. Let's go from here. Okay, the last paragraph. There's discussion on policies and implementation. It felt that the issues with the new policies can be covered in the noted areas below. We're going to now go to page 2, neighborhood board members' responses to the call for questions and statements. So I want to spend our time on page 2. Is there any questions on page 1? Anybody in the audience? Just our cover memo? Okay, hearing none, we're going to continue. Okay, the title of this is Neighborhood Board Members' Responses to the Call for Questions and Statements to the Commission Survey. The survey committee identified the following areas of concerns raised by the neighborhood board chairpersons and members. The survey committee presented the below findings to the Commission Planning Committee for consideration of inclusion into the current proposed revision of the Neighborhood Plan Committee. We're just going to go through them. I'm not going to read them all. You can read those. I'm just going to hit the highlights of them, item 1 through 5. And these, we boiled this down in one of our meetings. Yes, Marilyn, go ahead.
I looked this over today, and I read your email to us.
Mm-hmm.
Claire did this.
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
So
This is actually ditto of what
Claire did.
Claire,
That's what we stated in the email. That's correct.
Okay,
she took the responsibility of
right.
combining
Yeah.
everything that we've gathered.
Right. So why the redo? If it's
Because
the
this is the official report that
or
goes
the
to
official.
to
This
the
is,
neighborhood.
this is, yes.
The neighborhood plan
Okay.
committee.
Okay.
This
so
is from the survey to the planning committee. The other one was a,
Report.
a memorandum for the record that went to the commission. So the commission already has this data. What we did is we boiled it down, these 5 areas, and we're giving this
Right.
from the survey committee,
Okay.
the planning committee.
Now, my question also is, thank you for that, because I looked at it and I
Well,
thought,
Claire
this is
did
a
on both
duplicate,
records.
right? Okay, so, back to your, cover letter. I believe that the survey committee, because we were tasked by the neighborhood commission, that we are to report this or pass this on to the commission instead of directly to another committee. So,
We did.
isn't that the
We already-
the
we
proper
already-
process? So,
We did that.
right,
In
okay,
the
so
the
the
commission meeting.
commission, shouldn't the commission be the one to say, pass this on to the planning committee?
No,
Isn't that the right process,
no,
Dylan?
Dylan
What's
mentioned
the
this the other day.
process?
We have to vote and take this and pass it from here to the
To
other committee.
the commission,
No, to the planning committee.
I believe
What's
it
the
is
process?
to the commission.
We
Okay.
already presented to the commission, and
Yeah.
per the memo, they accepted it also, so it's already presented to the commission.
And we did.
Now we're going to the
So
next step on
does
that.
so in the process of all of this, can a committee tell another committee what to do? I'm just
No,
wanting to
we're-
get
this-
the process
The
correct.
terminology is for consideration
For
of
consideration,
inclusion in the,
the neighborhood plan.
correct.
Okay, so I'm aware that, there are 2, surveys out right now. So, one is the neighborhood, it went up to the neighborhood board, directors, officers, and then the other is to the public. So with this, all of that data is gonna come back. With that data is gonna be available to everyone, including the neighborhood plan committee. Okay, so does this necessarily have to go to the neighborhood plan committee?
This does, yes.
This to me takes precedence over the NCO's one that went
Yeah,
out.
the one
This
that,
is the serious one with all the complaints that came in. So this is all highlighted in there. So when it goes to the neighborhood planning committee, when they get through their review on each of these things as we flagged, we
Right,
want them to take a look at it good. And of course, the public will be involved to reiterate those things that came up over the last year.
okay,
But this is the to
It's-
flag these
yeah,
issues.
it's our responsibility to give it to present it for consideration.
to
the plan
the other
committee.
committee?
Yeah.
See,
so-
that's where I'm,
See,
that's,
no,
yeah,
but we want to keep this separate.
yeah,
This
cause
is, we're
I'm,
the commission. NCO is different.
Oh,
well,
yeah, she's not saying the neighborhood commission office,
right,
but
I'm
yeah,
talking about the
overall,
Yeah,
commissioners.
because
the way
Yeah.
the committees are structured is that each committee
Right.
does their own assignment, they're supposed to report everything back
To
to
the
the commission,
commission,
which is you guys.
right,
The
the commissioners,
commissioners-
that's what
Yeah,
I,
nothing with our office, but basically
Yeah.
what happens in this meeting goes back to the regular meeting, and then, yeah, you guys can have that conversation there and say, hey, we request or we
right,
propose
since
that
if
this
this
should
is
go to the.
official, should,
to-
that's it,
See, in
yeah,
the last
But
meeting,
it has to be voted on and passed out of this committee.
I have a comment.
right. No, I'm just trying
Just a minute, Claire.
to figure
Just a
out the channel that it needs to
That's
go
fine.
to, okay,
Yes, Claire?
Yeah, I agree. I think with some of what Mahelani is discussing, I think as a committee, we reported back to the commission. Yes, we did report it already to the commission, but we didn't ask for a call for action. So I think at that point, there was no action to it other than to receive it. So I think it should be an agenda item, and then we would ask for action on it, whether what the commission would like to do with it, if they would like to take the information and then forward it on to the planning committee. They're more than willing to. We're more than, it's what we vote on at the commission level, not the commission board, and then that
Right.
goes to the planning committee. I
right,
mean, we don't necessarily, I'm not necessarily in favor of taking our committee report and telling the planning committee, you have to take this. I think that we're sidestepping the commission, and the commission the commission has to make a decision on it.
Yeah, we already presented to the commission.
But
It
we
was
didn't
accepted.
ask for action on it.
No, we didn't, no, wait, just a second.
okay,
Because we talked about this last time with Dylan. This has to be, Dylan mentioned actually last time around, that this has to be voted on and come out of the survey committee,
mhm,
directed to the planning committee for consideration. We're not telling them what to do. We're saying, here's the results. Okay, for their consideration. And since we're also on the planning committee, we'll work that in-house.
Right.
But we'll talk about this at the next commission meeting. That's
Okay.
correct.
I just think it's cleaner if we present it to the commission and ask the commission if they would like to forward it on to the planning commission. I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm just saying that to me, that's the process. I mean, I may be wrong. I mean, this is yes, and now in this form, it's an official document. We're reporting back as an official document to the commission, and then I think it's up to Richard Oshiro to put it on the agenda, and then for us to discuss it on the agenda, and to find out what action we're going to go forward with it on.
Procedurally, actually, we could do both. It's not either or. It's not
Well,
either
I'm
or.
okay, but I'm saying I would be in favor of it going to the commission.
It will go to both. That's fine.
The commissioners, right.
It'll go to both.
Commissioners,
Yeah,
commission board.
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
Chair, I have one recommendation, make
Yeah.
this real easy. On this memorandum, change the line item on VIA. Instead of it say survey committee, it should say neighborhood commission.
Yes.
Because this is to the planning committee, but it's via the commission, because we're present it next week
right,
at the commission.
Okay, I can do that.
Right.
yeah,
See line item, and we're good.
okay, that's exactly what I was asking. I'm sorry if I didn't mean the neighborhood commission office, I meant the commissioners, yeah. Commission.
So then can you add this to a line item to the next commission meeting?
And actually.
Yes, we can, actually, if you could just put in an email to Richard, that would be the
Okay.
best
That's fine.
procedure.
Well, he has this too. He was earlier.
Yeah.
So would you,
Okay. Great.
Larry,
So
would
that's-
you also?
I have one more thing. You know, yes, the VIA
Yeah,
definitely has to have commission on there, but is there anything wrong with adding the NCO executive secretary? Is anything wrong with that? Because I thought,
They're not involved.
Yeah.
They're not
It would
involved.
What would, I'm just curious.
I just thought of it as a courtesy,
right,
because
Oh,
he's at the meeting.
right,
Oh, we appreciate that, but
No,
yeah,
he-
this is
Just
neighborhood
strictly
commission
commission.
survey
Okay.
committee work,
He
so
can
I would
be
keep them
He
separate.
could be CC.
Okay, CC.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
can be-
that would be a CC.
Thanks for the
Do you think on the memorandum on the very top, it should be neighborhood commission, period? It's not the
No, but
neighborhood
on
plan.
V. No,
It's
this
to
is our
the-
report to the planning committee.
This goes to the planning committee.
Yeah, just to jump in, I think, Claire, this is similar to like a resolution that the board would propose.
okay.
So
Right.
while it's in draft form, it does say who it's intended to go towards, but
Right.
if it doesn't pass out of the body, then it doesn't ever make it that
Right.
far. So I know what you're saying, but I think leaving it with neighborhood commission, planning committee,
And via,
that's the two. Yeah, and
Okay.
it says from the commission.
okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So we voted out of our committee so we make a motion, voted out of our committee for this to go to the
Commission.
commissioners.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
For consideration.
Commissioners, it's,
I'll say.
exactly. Okay,
Okay, great. Claire, thank you. Really, thank you.
that was my question, that was just my concerns.
Understood. That's fine.
Okay,
Okay, great. Let's continue.
okay,
The definitions of communications for the commission definition, which the policies, procedures, and processes of the commission and the neighborhood boards established by the commission. Then there was confusion before in some of the questions here about what is actually NCO office does. The NCO office is under the managing director for the county, okay? So they're the ones that develop the policies, procedures, processes for all the employees, including NCO. Whereas Mr. Yonaka is the manager for this department. Okay, so it's totally two separate items, because sometimes there's a gray area in between. Okay, item 2, meetings, the length of meetings. Larry, would you like to cover this one? Talk to me about meetings.
Yeah, well, and Claire, jump in at any time. You know, there were a lot of responses and concerns from neighborhood boards, members, and the chairs that their 3 hours of length sometimes just isn't long enough. And when they have contentious issues that they're trying to work, they need extra time. And it's just something that we get. But the other thing with this is it's a heck of a balancing act, because it's not that easy. If you go past 3 hours, there are other things you got to consider. Whether you can stay in the same location because you've only reserved it for that 3 hours. Your Alelo contract says only 3 hours, and your video time is only 3 hours, and your NCO and assistant that you have is only for 3 hours. So this is something that the neighborhood plan committee needs to look at. Is there a solution to this? Is there a way that you could give the chair that extra authority that if they do want to extend the meeting, their secretary needs to take over the minutes. So, I mean, those are possibilities.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but to what you just said, that doesn't entirely solve the problem. Even though you put in a plan, does that affect the contract? Does that affect your Alelo 3-hour time? None of that would actually be solved by putting it in the plan.
You have to have the stars aligned where you have flexibility. If you do not have flexibility, you are stuck at those 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is, the other solution is the board chairs need to know how to manage their time.
Yes.
They need to work their agendas. There are things that don't need to be on the agenda. They can go quarterly.
Yes.
I mean, these are things that are probably in the training down the road. And then Alelo filming, the production, I think they're doing a great job. But the thing is, they are restricted to the 3 hours. That came up. And the venue restrictions and costs, again, there were concerns that the locations weren't what they wanted. There wasn't enough room, or they got kicked out right at that moment because of the escorts that they got. And then the other thing is being able to maintain decorum, control, and security, having that right location. And we still have those issues today with some of the boards. Okay.
Yeah, so Larry, Steve. So yeah, I think that pulls up all the concerns. And I think at that point, we've highlighted those concerns, and when we give it, if the commission chooses to give it to the planning committee, then the planning committee can address maybe some of the policies, whether it be the secretary has to take minutes, or the neighborhood, the chair has the flexibility or the discretion to push the agenda to another time and put it in order of, what needs to be dealt with, but specifically given them that authority. Yeah. But the planning committee would devise that policy.
Yeah, these items are the concerns from the chairs and the board members themselves. The way that the planning committee wants to put it into a narrative for a solution is up to the planning committee. These are the concerns, and they can address, they have the latitude, the authority to, and we're on the planning committee also, so we'll help them work that out. Okay.
So Claire, what you put in here, these are all key issues flagged. So this will come up in discussion at the neighborhood plan committee meeting, where the public, again, people will be able to address those issues again to the planning committee.
Right. Okay.
Well, I think the issues are kind of addressed. I don't think they're reiterating them is going to make them any more or less important. I think they just we have to figure out how to address those issues. Or, whether it's to say that's all when the Alelo filming contract, that's all we have money for, and that's what it's going to be. So if because of that, and whatever reason, if there's a 3-hour time limit, how do we address that issue of the 3-hour time limit?
Right, we'll come with options. We would like to see options coming up from the planning committee for this. I'm concerned a little bit more. A lot of discussion from some of the boards concerning the meeting decorum, control and security. In some areas, it's a real concern.
Yeah, that tends to.
So we need to bring this to the table and discuss it at the commission level and with the planning committee. See how we can help the boards resolve this.
Chair,
Yes.
In reading all of the complaints that we've received via email, I've just noticed even more that all of the contention takes up so much time, the back and forth, that there has to be a way for the chair of, whatever neighborhood board it's affecting, that they just call the question and just end the discussion, because are they aware that they've wasted so much time with that back and forth contention?
Right. That's true.
And when they get nothing done.
And there is a solution to that. The chair controls that meeting and limiting time for board members to speak.
Yeah.
But we also have in our charter the office of Sergeant at Arms.
Yes.
And not the
They
boards
don't really
actually use that.
utilize that.
No, they don't use that.
Right.
So that's another area that we can address. Okay, great, thank you for that.
Maybe that could be added on, item ABC.
Oh, we could, sure,
E,
yes,
Sergeant of Arms.
sorry, yeah.
Utilizing the Sergeant of Arms.
Yeah,
I used to
that's
be
all.
the sergeant arms at the Pearl City Neighborhood Board years ago. But we disestablished it.
Because your meetings run smooth.
No, yeah,
No.
we didn't have any
Right.
problems after that.
I mean, it's a tool that, if needed, they should use it.
I know the board should have them.
Okay, utilizing sergeant, could we add that on for
Yes,
item?
I did.
E? Okay,
I put it on. Great, thank you. Item 3 on the minutes, I want to talk a little bit about the premise for this and the focus. Because I was reading through this and I went back through a couple years of notes, being on the neighborhood board about 10 years now. And there has been some changes. Item A, minutes, 4 pages, that's a guideline. Explanation from OIP stated that the Alelo recordings verbatim. So OIP has stated this is official record of the meeting, which, you have to say, well, what if I don't have access to that? What if I don't have a computer? When you go into a court, the court always says that the written narrative, because we've done this, gone back 2 years, is the narrative. But OIP, which we respond to, has stated that the official record is the recording, which is fine. And then the written meeting minute serves as a written summary of the actions taken. For our usage, that's sufficient. That's sufficient. So it's almost like blending the two technologies, which is old-fashioned hard copy, and with video. So that's the position that OIP has taken. So now we have to move our boards more to understand how to use that. And there's another item down here about training for the for using the Google Drive also. So we'll address that also. Yes.
Just one edit to the 3B.
Yes.
So could we delete Alelo, because Alelo is doing a service to the community by rebroadcasting, but really the meeting minutes, just like you see on your committee meeting,
Yes.
the video record is not the Alelo version, it's our version
oh,
in-house. And so we post that on YouTube much faster than
Instead
it
of
gets
what
rebroadcast.
would you like me to use? Just video recording?
Yes, that would be great.
I can do that.
And are
It's
you
stated that
using-
the video recording service, yeah, so just replace Alelo with video.
No, that's fine too, because someday we may not use them. But
Yeah.
actually, we're using their contractors. We're not using Little's the contractor.
We're not, yeah, Alelo doesn't even come to your meetings.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
It's a contractor.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for that.
Now, are you using AI now for your minutes?
We're not using AI for the minutes, that's a whole nother conversation, but right now we haven't found anything that works well enough to reduce basically the time spent in the work to improve a transcript because of, let's say, sound quality at a hybrid meeting, people not using microphones, people having bad audio online, and I would say Hawaiian words, just like street names. We're not there yet.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
but we're always open, so if
Okay,
anyone ever finds them, please call our office.
Yes, thank you. Okay, let's move to item C. Some of the items on this are not really elaborated on. That's why the planning committee is going to create the narrative. This is the concerns that we've heard. And then resolution that came up in the discussions. Item C, minutes taken by the neighborhood assistant is a service to the boards. It's a service, okay? But the boards are owners, that's key time. The boards are the owners of the meeting minutes. They own it, okay? The NA does not. Okay, so it's up to the board themselves to review and approve. And if they want to change it, they can change it, they can add to it. The board chair and also the secretary. Meeting minutes draft are to be reviewed and approved by the respective board chair and secretary. For approval, additions and corrections can be made by the board chairman, etc., prior to final approval. And that will go before the board goes to approval on that. So we in a sense, and this is more of the instruction that we're giving to the boards, is that, and some, like boards we're on, we always do this, we do this, but maybe in some boards, they don't think that that's that important. But it is important, because the written record of what we've done and how we spend our time there in representing our community to the neighborhood board system, and how we've integrated and been the conduit of communication between the government officials and the people to the government officials. So all of these are important areas just to address. And also item D, neighborhood board members may review the Olelo recordings. I'll just say the video recordings prior to the regular meetings. That's a good point. To refresh your memories. Okay, thank you. Item 4.
I just have a comment.
Go ahead.
All of these things are, I think we should make sure we keep the lines of the two committees separate. So the survey committee's job was to collect any of the comments, highlight them, explain them, and represent them when we deal with it at the commission board level. But I don't think, and we can give some of the rationale to the planning committee, but it's the planning committee's job to formulate how it's going to get incorporated into the neighborhood plan.
That's correct.
And then they would come back to us, the commission, to see if that's something that we agree with. But I don't think it's our job necessarily to dictate to them how they address it.
No, that's correct. And this is a suggested narrative. It's up to them how they do the narrative. Yes, Commissioner?
Yeah, Claire, to add to that, I think that when the neighborhood plan committee is going through these issues that we have highlighted and flagged, that whoever from the NCO is in charge of training should be sitting in on that and
That's
taking
right.
note of those things, because those are the things that need to go back out again and make sure we reinforce the neighborhood board members. These are the areas that commonly are having redundant
Challenges.
issues, and we can solve them early if we educate you and say, this is the way it has to be
Yes,
for the plan.
right. Very good. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Claire. Thank you, Commissioner. Item 4, Neighborhood Commission Office employees. This is something that came up with questions recurring, so we're just kind of put this to bed. Roles and responsibilities for Commission Neighborhood Boards, okay? For consideration into the plan, Executive Secretary roles and responsibilities, neighborhood board assistant, because some boards think the neighborhood assistant should be doing a number of items, but they're there to do their job, and they have their agenda. We can't modify that. The boards can't modify that. We actually work together really good with them. But I've noticed that sometimes they go, there may be variance in that. Item C, Olelo board, recordings, roles, responsibility, and contractor involvement. That should be defined also, I'll just say video recordings. Neighborhood board plan, we're talking about our memo of record from Ohio Neighborhood Board System. This is something that came up a couple times in talking to because some of the boards use this, Dylan, the actual guidebook, and Lloyd had mentioned one time that we're not using that, but as far as the managing director is concerned, we still are.
Ooh, there might be some confusion. The board member guidebook was on our website when I first started working here, but shortly after, because so many issues came up, people were looking at that as the bylaws, but the bylaws is the neighborhood plan. This was something that was
That's
meant
right.
to help and supplement,
This is
but it
just-
was actually used in a wrong form.
Mhm.
So to solve that problem, that was taken down. If someone had saved a copy of that, sure, it's circulated, just like things on the internet. But as far as we know today, there is no board member guidebook that is used.
So Dylan,
There's nothing in our files or on our website that says board member guidebook.
Did you know
Yeah.
if the managing director, excuse me, just a sec, did the managing director, did they withdraw? Was there a notice that it had been withdrawn?
From the managing director, I wouldn't speak to that. That's not my level.
You know what you may want to do? We can actually modify this and state that the member guidebook is no longer active, and the neighborhood plan is
Basically the Bible,
is
One single source.
yeah.
is a single source for the commission and the neighborhood board.
It's either that or maybe, as discussed, there could be a use, again, to a guidebook, but maybe somewhere it needs to be disclosed that to prevent what happened in the past, is that a guidebook is,
It's just a guidebook.
yeah, I mean, it's like, reading a summary of a book. It doesn't tell you everything that happened. It's just a short summary.
It brings it down to layman's.
But you know what?
Exactly. Thank you.
The plan.
So you can have both because they can be helpful.
Plan does not give the rank and file board member, though, the verbiage to understand that. Plan is written in a different narrative format.
Well, the plan does
So the guide-
identify the roles and responsibilities
Yeah,
of
but
each officer.
The guide itself is more colloquial.
Yeah, when I first started, I thought the guidebook was helpful for myself as an assistant because it did explain what my roles and duties were. On top of that, though, we have our internal policies as an office. Okay, how do we?
Yeah, but
run-
that's not for the board members.
Exactly, and they were using it against the office and saying, no, it says right here the neighborhood assistant should be the minute. Whereas the plan says the board is responsible for the minutes. It's that exact scenario that we had an issue. So I
Yeah.
think if we can either just delete this right now or rephrase it to something.
I'm gonna just leave it open and put it in
Yeah,
amendments.
yeah.
I'm gonna just shelve it for right now.
Because at the end of the day, it's all going to go
And
to
then-
the.
Because we
Fine.
may need, it would be helpful to have a guidebook, that each board member has. Because they take the plan with them, but a lot of them don't understand, and they don't need all that.
Yeah,
They
it's
just
not
need,
simple
they just
to
need
do.
a instruction, a table of instruction, if you will. Okay. But,
I have
you
a
know, your-
comment. Sorry.
a second. Your NAs have been so good that, we don't really, we've used that in the
Yeah.
past, but the NAs have been so good, though, they really supplement, so we flow pretty well.
Yeah, things have changed a lot. I've been here for the last 4 years, and in the past, what I've heard is that the turnover was about a year. A neighborhood assistant would work for about a year and then leave because of it just wasn't the best job position. But basically, what we got going on has worked. And I would like to add that if anyone ever has a question, whether it's the board members or the public, call our office. We take so many calls and emails. We're always there to help people and answer their questions. So a lot of this happens offline outside of the meetings. To put it in writing could get tricky, and maybe that's where the issue was. So let's just leave this for the neighborhood
we'll
plan
show it for
committee
now.
to
We'll put it
figure
in.
it out. Yeah.
Claire, you had a question?
Yeah, I think to avoid confusion, we should have a clear statement until a current guidebook is made that actively reflects operations or what we want it to reflect. Then we should put a disclaimer there or something that the neighborhood board guidebook is no longer applicable, or it's not current and it's not applicable. So it's very clear to people. Some people can use it, some people can't use it. That leads to a lot of the confusion. I'm not saying that we have to have a guidebook right away. I'm not saying to task the commission to do that. I'm just saying we need to make it very clear that the neighborhood guidebook that's out there is not valid.
Yeah, we can bring that to the table. Thank you.
Right, it's comment,
Great.
Chair, it's outdated.
Yes.
And what I've noticed in a few comments through these past 3.5 years is that some will challenge the neighborhood plan with the neighborhood guidebook. And we don't want to
No.
create that because the plan is actually what all the neighborhood boards should be operating and following by.
Yeah, the plan itself is the administration document.
Right,
The guidebook is, like Claire mentioned, is an
Right.
operations, something you use here
Right.
day to day, but it's outdated.
yeah, so
It's
we don't want
it
them
needs to be,
throwing,
it needs either to be updated or not used.
or not used at all.
But then, I don't know if all the board members, unless they're trained more in the neighborhood plan, we would effectively use the plan.
Yeah, I would just like to add that we are spending some time talking about this, but to be honest and transparent, we never talk about this. We don't get calls from people asking, so I can assume that this is a longstanding board member that was used to the guidebook back in the day and then liked it and might have been using it in a certain way, whether good or bad. And it's coming back into the conversation when I clarified earlier that it's not on our website, it's not part of the NCO operations.
You know, have you seen, I don't want to divert from this, Robert's Rules? It's a fairly lengthy book,
Yep.
but they have Robert's Rules for
Brief.
dummies, which is really
Yeah,
cute.
in
It's
summary,
a little one.
yeah.
It's like the ones this little pamphlets you get for the
Yeah.
legislature that says who's who and where's your office at. Same type of thing.
Cliff
And it's
notes.
really, it's really, really sweet.
Yeah.
And if we had something like that, as just a guide for the board members, and they understand, it's just a guide. But a guide like for Robert's rules, how do you do this and that, and how do you call the question?
Right.
Just for operations side of the board meetings, that would be real good if we're.
Because
we
it's,
could do
Yeah,
that.
it's
let's
simple.
let's
If you-
save this conversation for later because that did exist,
Yeah,
but it didn't work out well. So let's save
Oh,
that
I
for the
see.
planning committee to
Okay.
see if that's a conversation. At the end of the day,
That'd be
maybe
really
it's,
good.
maybe it's an
That'd be
NCO
good.
question.
Yeah, great, thank you. Larry?
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, I really think that once the neighborhood plans committee is completed, this is a great time for the NCO to sit down, take the time, and put together a training course where you conduct quarterly seminars for all the boards. They can come in, and in that, they get a training book. And that training book is similar to the guide before, but each line item, it's the quote out of the neighborhood plan. And let me tell you about that line item, and that helps you with your training as you go along. That would be very beneficial. And then have a combined course, that seminar is not only the NCO, but you tag a commissioner to sit in that meeting with them.
And then that something else, maybe for discussion, that when people apply to be on a neighborhood board, they put their profile in there, they're not told what's expected of them. They're not told.
there's no job description.
There's no job description. Doesn't say, there's no commitment. So when you get into, when you sit, because I've done this, we put people, we've had opening on the board, and when it comes to the board to say, hey, you want to go to the board, we interview them, and then we vote them in, then you come sit down. But I have everything there for them right then. I put them with a seasoned person, give them the plan, give them everything they need to get them started on it. But you don't task them up front, but you ease them into it. That's an item down here we'll discuss off the next section.
When people registered as a candidate this last election and the one prior, before that I couldn't speak to it, that was before my time. But after you fill out your bio and everything, you have to check those boxes that say, yes, I adhere to this, I agree to this, and some of those items mention neighborhood plan, the roles, and reading this and that. So at least that part kind of guides, but I know what you mean. If you fill a vacancy, you just came off the streets, you show up to a meeting, and that's really where the neighborhood assistant role comes in.
Right.
You
That's right.
communicate with them,
That's right.
and then usually that person will say, what do I do? And then we give them all the supplies, all the documentation. That's also on our website. And then we just work with them, and we have those conversations.
But your video was really good. You have,
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
We'll talk
you
about
did
that.
really good.
Let's talk about that.
It was great. Okay, great guy.
Okay,
Okay, let's move on to item 5, training. This is an item that's really dear to my heart, training for the neighborhood boards. Item A, roles and responsibilities of neighborhood board officers, members, and committees. A lot of people don't even understand the opportunity they have with the committees at the neighborhood board level. Because you can have committees that are the people that are on the committees don't have to be board members. Just members of the community,
right.
just reporting to a member of the neighborhood board. And then item B, onboarding of newly elected board members. That's really important. We don't want to burn people out in the first couple of months. Let's really bring them on board correctly. I like that, running effective and efficient neighborhood board meetings. What are we doing if we're not being effective, not being efficient? Not that we have to micromanage it, but we have to, like Larry mentioned about managing our time, but also doing it in such a way that we don't resolve a problem, creating a problem. We do things and we address things in the context that is presented to us. And we on the boards, we're there to come alongside the community and help them, and to come alongside to make sure that we have proper representation from the elected officials to the community and proper conduit of communication. Council chair is another one. Definition and clarification, roles and responsibilities of neighborhood assistants. They're our buddies, we just love them, and they do such good work, and we just want to make sure that we have that proper balance there in what we do. Responsibility of the meeting recordings, once again, back to that. Policies, procedure, neighborhood board development of their own board reps. Oh, this is one that came up several times.
Which item?
Item 5G.
G.
This came up, and some boards are doing this. They're creating their own websites, and they're not to be a duplicate of this is something that needs to be addressed in the plan. Because some boards are creating their own websites and they have no guidance to that.
Oh,
And so, but we have to, and some boards are actually doing that, but they're doing that in tandem saying, this is what our board has done, this is this is where we're going, and these are neighborhood events, community events we're helping with. We do that all the time, dovetailing with like Mililani High School, the events there, at the middle school, the elementary school, the middle schools. So we the boards are bringing the community together in a greater fashion, but not encumbering the time of the NCO on their website, because we're doing things that are community-based. So perhaps guidelines on that from the plan would be great. Policies and procedures, item H, review and uploading board-related. This is really important. Had so many questions about the Google Drive. What's a Google Drive? How do we do it? People are afraid to go into it because they don't want to blow it up or delete things. And, instruction for that would be really good. Training for the neighborhood boards, how do you, and a straw man manual, if you will, a syllabus. How do we do this? How do we do that? That would be helpful. Okay, guys? Any questions on page 2?
I think that comment, Chair, that back to trying to get everyone to function with the neighborhood plan, get everybody on the same plane.
Yes.
Also with, it's great that they want to post, they want to create websites and they want to pull in community events. Visit our website and you'll see all the community events. But I agree that there needs to be guidelines so that there's some consistency
Correct.
with everyone else, and it just doesn't go rogue, so
That's right.
the guidelines for webs, especially anything on social media, there needs to be guidelines.
Absolutely. And it has to be controlled, because if it says community events and the board, it says about the board, it says about a neighborhood board, and there's things in there that are inappropriate, we can't have that up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we have to have decorum for the websites and also security for that. Who's doing that, who's posting it, it has to be approved. The same way like when you go to Facebook. Someone can't just post in where you're at until you okay it, it will get posted.
We do have a hand raise from Kevin Law.
Yes, Kevin, you've been so quiet, guy.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. A quick question. I'm just trying to recall, at the last installation ceremony, was there any programmatic training of the new members? I'm just wondering if that was part of the agenda or if that is going to be augmented next time around, because I did notice that with a lack of that, there seemed to be a difference in how the start of the current session or term, which is about to end, it was a little bit different. Secondly, regarding the comments here about social media and other sites, I'm looking now to see if there are any resolutions that our Board 13 passed regarding that, because I think that we may have sent some requests on to the Neighborhood Commission about some guidance. So I'm going to try to look that up and see if it's still available. But appreciate the conversation today.
That'd be very helpful. Thank you, Kevin. Yes.
I believe that on the day that the installation took place at the Philippine Community Center, I believe it was Dylan
Yeah.
who got up and he did a quick PowerPoint presentation of
It was an
some
overview
type of brief training. He did do something.
Yeah, just the general hot topics.
Yeah.
Right.
Support the chair.
Right. Right.
Everyone be a team player.
Yeah.
Order and
He
decorum.
did do something.
That was 2 years ago. I don't have it off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But kind of what you guys are outlining here.
But-
That's also only introduced, I believe, the YouTube and the Google Drive features. Those were huge advances or changes.
What Kevin's probably referring to is on the previous installations was a lot of training right there.
I believe
This
OIP
last
used
one
to go to that.
was more, I don't know if we use the word social or what, but I think striking a good balance would be great. A lunch with good training and the manuals. Yes. Yes, Tom, please. Tom, do you have a question, sir?
No, is he present? Is he even there?
Okay, Mr. Armstrong, do you have a comment, sir? Okay, great. I think we're caught up then. Dylan, is anybody else online that have any comments?
Not that I can see.
Okay, in summary, we are going to be presenting this to the commission for the neighborhood plan consideration. And several of us that are here are also on the planning committee who want to make sure the voices from the chairs and the neighborhood board members are heard, and we're leaving it up to the discretion of the planning committee of how best to provide resolution on these areas. We're the conduit. Okay, is there any other comments from anybody? Did anybody online?
No.
Mr. Lai, anything else?
No, I'm sorry, Chair. Was there anything else that's being shared on screen?
No,
No.
we're good.
Okay, thank
we're
you.
good.
This is a survey meeting.
So, there needs to be some, Chair, there needs to be some corrections made.
Yeah, I made it.
Okay.
Okay, we'll do that and also send it out before meeting.
Okay.
Okay, it's, I have 6:51. If there's no other comments, then I'm going to adjourn the meeting. The meeting is hereby adjourned. 6:51.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.